to our work session on whatever today is, November 20th. So we'll call it to order. And what it is, I guess. Can you do a roll call? Yes. We'll do a roll call.
Council President Seifert.
I'm here.
Councilmember Robleski. Councilmember Spears. Here. Councilmember Powell. Councilmember Shaw.
Here.
Councilmember Bartlett. Here. And Councilmember Nugent. Here.
Right. Is it Councilmember Powell and Robleski, and I think are online as well, should be listening in. But we'll ask, so the topic of tonight is to discuss the proposed and current status of the ball court agreement. Talking about, what we do forward and what that looks like. So, or any other options. What I'll ask is, as we discuss these, if you can, for like Councilmember Robleski and Powell, I think they have all of the documents, same documents we have. As we discuss them, if you can, just so they can follow along, since we're not showing this on teams or screen, we can be descriptive as much as possible in what we're talking about. And then Councilmember Robleski and Powell, if you guys can hear me, I don't know why I'm talking louder, but if y'all can hear me, if there's a question you have or clarification you need, so we can help better guide you, please just speak up. We'll try and do that. So I think that is the topic for tonight. And with that,
I'm going to start it and turn it over to Greg. I think he's going to lead, having worked with the ball course folks on listening to what everybody was trying to accomplish, and then going through, I guess, the financial matrix piece of it. So we're using the financial spreadsheets that were sent earlier today with the two different rates of possible growth. Greg, you'll have to tell them which one you're looking at for the growth side.
So we started with the one we started with, and the one is 3.5. If you look right above the A and B line, growth rate.
I'm sorry, I can hear Greg.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. The 3.5% growth rate model. I think I already worked on this one, I think, just a few weeks ago. And this assumes a 65% occupancy rate and I think 5.25 bond number at $27 million, $22 million bond. They don't have the bond number on $21.5 million bond.
Correct.
So if you look through, you can see where the first green columns are Hotel 1, and the Hotel 2, Hotel 3, it runs out, and this is a 2-page deal. So what we talked through on this was, could we cash flow it as a city, and we were going to struggle being able to cash flow it. So we went back to ball court and said, hey, where's your skin in the game with this? Everybody wants to know how are y'all in this? And so what ball court has said, we'll backstop any revenue so y'all aren't having to get in your general fund. And so it shows here what the ball court would pay out of pocket above and beyond what they paid in the past to cover the additional bond, all the way through the life of the bond until the bond tax catches up. So there's 3.5% at the end of 24 years. Everything's paid, including the parking lot is part of this that would be bonded and backstopped. You get everything paid, and you still end up with the $17,400,000 to the good. If you looked at it on the worst case scenario, if you went with the national average of a growth rate of 2.45, which I don't think Madison's had a growth rate that small in years and years and years, you still end up having everything paid. And it's backstop, and you still end up with almost a $10 million excess at a 2.5% growth rate. So I talked to Rush about this, called Rush this morning, and sent him all the new numbers, and you see his letter. And he basically said, I asked him about the interest rate. He said he thought the interest rate would fall somewhere between 4.7 and 4.8. He looked at the one this morning, I think it was 4.71. But he said, really, he said, for y'all, it really doesn't matter. He said, it really doesn't matter what, if Mark's gonna backstop it and there's no cap on the dollar figure or no lien. He said, really, it doesn't matter if it's coming higher or if the interest rate comes in higher because he's gonna backstop it. He said, not saying he don't care, but he said, it really doesn't affect y'all what that looks like if he's gonna backstop it. So you see his letter of recommendation saying that there's virtually no risk to the city. I think that's what, after talking to Roger, we were trying to get away from is the risk.
To tie that together, these two sheets are using 5.25 as a number right now, which when we talked with Rush last week, he basically said at that point it could be as low as 5, as high as 5.5. So we use 5.25 as the number conservatively, knowing that the longer we wait, most likely the better the bond rate will be. But that's what we used for these two spreadsheets. And the other thing that we had done from the previous times to get to the 21.5 number that is bonded, is we're estimating the new building cost of $22,500,000. The parking lot that we have already negotiated, which would be $4 million plus $1.5 million for the improvements, and that's basically making it a full parking lot with everything that's needed. We in talking with Rush, received real bond numbers as far as what we felt like the estimated bond issuance cost would be, which was $500,000, and that gets you to 28.5, $7 million, which we would pay in cash, which then we bond at 21.5. The one thing that I will say, not only in the backstop that we talked about, but part of what we talked with Ball Corp on was making sure that in the numbers that they would backstop and make sure that the parking lot was added in there. So it's not only the building, but it's also the parking lot in left field that would give access to that 4-story building that's needed if we put that in place. So that's just how you get to those numbers. I guess from there we'd open it up to any questions that any of council has on numbers to start with.
Just a question on the occupancy rate, is that, do we know what we're averaging right now out there in the existing hotels? So like, is the 65% aligned with what we're currently seeing, or is that an improvement? Is it below what we're currently seeing?
It's on the lower end of the northern average that you have. Those hotels that are in Town Madison right now have a much higher occupancy rate, but as you add the hotels to Town Madison and other places, then 65% is a good number that we received from Convention Visitors Bureau. Okay. As far as that.
Source, including but not limited to all city events, team events, walk-or baseball games, parking, naming and signage, permanently affixed venue signage, scoreboard advertising, ticket sales, license suite, and club rentals and sub-licenses, souvenirs and other merchandise, concessions, programs, hospitality, catering, and foreign or beverage advertising revenue, other vending or licensing revenue, exterior and on 565 signage, scoreboard advertising, broadcast rights, and advertising, and all other revenue from all ball court baseball games. Ball courts shall also retain all revenues from the novelties and souvenirs from all city events. Ball court pays to the city shall be limited to the venue license fees. So, I contacted the mayor and we said, okay, what all is this? His numbers and my numbers that's coming into us. So we're not gonna see any of that anymore, okay? They'll be paying, $1 million plus something, you know, for the first, if you look at the 3.5 generated numbers, in the first 5 years, they pay over $1 million. After that, it's just this whole $1 million that they're responsible for. Yeah, we're losing $1 million right off the bat signing this, plus any increases we would have seen over the ensuing years. So I just, I'm a little concerned that that is in there. You know, and then it goes on, notwithstanding this section, will of course shall remit applicable sales tax proceeds to the city in accordance with state and local law. City shall credit Walcor the applicable state sales tax proceeds that Walcor has paid from the operations for purposes of calculating the new license fees. In other words, you can credit for the taxes. And I'm like, it sounded great. I thought when we first looked at why we need to give $1 million and all that, but they're taking the money away from us right away. And that was money that was coming to the city. So everything we looked at earlier, that these are things we'll be adding to our income because we now have this extra facility. All that's on. We look at taxes on sales still. We still get the sales taxes, the liquor taxes, the lodging taxes. But then I took it further, and I said, okay, let's look at the numbers, because we really are getting good numbers from the hotels, right? I think those are excellent on hotels, brought in so much money. Well, looking at it, we are already going to be bringing in, that's a 2025, enough money to cover the $3.1 million that we own for the 218 value. So we're already going to cover that, right? So everything that comes into us on top of that through the year is covered. By the time we get down to 2042, we're making $2 million more. And then if you get to the even the bottom one, now we're making $5.8 million. And you're telling me over here, after we bought all these things, we spent all this money, we got this bond, we've been spending extra $1.5 million every year, we're going to be making less money than if we just went by our lodging taxes. The last one, that's under 3.5, got a number for lodging taxes, sales and liquor tax, 5,885,903. Whereas down here at the bottom, we're going to be making 4.9. We don't even make as much. If we just stuck to what we currently are doing, don't add anything, we'd be better as an investor in the city.
Can you just maybe just,
Man.
can you, I mean,
Sure.
I'm not debating what you're saying, I want to understand. You say we lose $1 million off the top.
Right, if you read this, and I verified it through Mayor,
Yeah.
and I talked to Megan, you know, she doesn't get signed yet, but yeah, that reads the way it does.
But
We
can you
no longer
outline it?
get,
Where does that come from?
it came from the things that we were sent. It was part of the.
So I think right now, if you go back to sales and lodging, so the 5 revenue channels, and I could go for my email again if I need to, I don't have that. But what Karen asked is, what is different in the current license agreement and in this new one when it comes to that paragraph that she just read? And what stays the same, okay, good. What stays the same is sales tax. Sales tax still is remitted to the city from golf course. Basically, is it a monthly basis, quarterly basis, either way, from everything that they sell. And so that's $500,000 right now when it comes to sales tax and liquor tax. Those two things come directly to the city from them. So if you go to the sheets, where you say we're losing $1 million, right now, in year one, and I gotta get the right, I'm trying to figure out which sheets I can tell those guys.
Yeah, as you put it, naming rights were, 116,620, parking was 240,609, non-baseball events were 343,774, ticket sales were 335,186, for a total of 1,036,229.
And then you add in the sales tax and the liquor tax, which gets you, and I'm just arbitrarily, whatever the number, 1.5 million. The first year's bond payment is $2 million. So what would work, would be, excuse me, the right number. Total bond payments are 4.7 million. So in this case, with lodging tax that comes to the city, and then the, so Walport would owe, in this case, the total number that has to be for both bond payments would be 4.7 million. The lodging tax takes care of, in that first year, 2.7 million of that. And so then you take the delta. They're credited for what they generate for us from the city for sales tax and lodging tax. So we don't lose it, we get it, and then we credit them for them, which we were already doing. Okay. So then what's left is the $1.5 million that covers both bond payments, and they would backstop that. They will take that entire number, and then they'll go to 1.4, and then 1.4, and keep working themselves down from there. So only the things that change are anything that right now we're getting half of the money that we typically, that goes towards the bond payments anyway. They would take all of that and then match and meet whatever's left over from the total bond payment. You are correct in the sense of if we stayed the way we are, we can still make those types of things happen. It doesn't make what they, in working with Greg and Walport, what they were looking to do is get a set number that they could work from. And that's what they're trying to work down to, is that $1 million. They still owe us $1 million every year, regardless of whether that would be the lowest number that they have now, and it would be the lowest number that they have then.
Okay. No, it's still coming in, it's going towards the bottom. Just like it is now.
Now, one thing about it, if you keep it the way it is, then they're not going to be able to backstop it. Then we have to come up with cash up front.
Then we don't do the project. Because it's not really, it doesn't really make sense for the city to take the risk, to take this on, to pay that additional money because you're building 7 suites. You're not, the fellow who wrote the one, Richard Madison. Okay, I appreciated what he wrote, but then he goes like, he never even knew what we were building, and then he said, but, probably the revenue, without even knowing he was qualified. And then because the $30 million price line is not an outlier. But that's apples to oranges because he was comparing it to people that are building a new stadium, people that are renovating. We're not, we're just adding 7 suites. We're not doing what these other people are doing, we're just adding 7 suites. Do those 7 suites bring that much additional benefit to the citizens of Madison to go into those? And I would say we're already doing great on the numbers we have coming in without needing this investment money to do better. And if we invest that as we go along, 10 years from now, we will have money we need to renovate, because I know that's a concern, we don't want it to deteriorate. That's always been something. So this way, we're not, because we are already really stable in what we're doing here. But to add it, the people that are involved with the suites, I'm sure they'll be happy, but that's a very limited number of people that even use the suites. And then you have people up on top, and about my understanding was more. But even when you go back and look at what we talked about, these things coming in, most of them all could still come in, even if we don't do the 4 stories. You can still have all this extra baseball games, softball games, whatever the additional things are. And then,
So
that's great. I don't see how this really brings that much benefit to the city to put us $30 million more in debt and having to pay that off over the years when we can literally be out of debt for the whole stadium by 2042.
are you counting in the $12.5 million cash that we would pay?
You're not going apples to apples, because if we don't do this, then this changes dramatically, and you're dropping $12.5 million debt on this, no additional income. That's all ours.
What additional difference?
You have $7 million that's going, and then a $5.5 million parking lot.
So to be compliant, so to be compliant,
$12.5 million with no additional revenue and no backstop.
But there's not that much additional revenue to cover that extra $5 million. That's the numbers are not showing us really bringing in that much more money because it still gets way out. If you look at the numbers per year, I mean, we're still in the red. Even once they just start paying $1 million, we're still in the red all the way down until 2042 when we're making $40,000. Okay, well, what are we truly accomplishing here? To do that, I'm like, you're still, if you're on the, okay, that was a fourth one. That's the one, the three, you actually start making money in, yeah,
We're too good in 2030. We're too good in 2030.
But I mean, I think the city's taking off. I think there's going to be really great things so far. But, Chief Young said the other day, I think, political awareness thing, Auburn Brook is going to be coming in. We're going to be booming. I don't see that this needs to go further back for something in the stadium, which is a wonderful stadium. It's great, but it's great as it is. People enjoy going there. I just don't see how 7 more suites at that much more benefit when we could be taking this money in. I mean, we still owe for a bridge. We're building a $35 million bridge, right? We're also buying up Greenland. We have still got a lot of money that has to be paid coming from Tom Madison. Okay, so if we add another $30 million coming out of Tom Madison, that's a lot for that area to hold. So that ends up making the rest of the city have to carry the burden too. I don't know. I think it really does put a risk at the burden on the citizens.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's no burden. There's no burden to the citizens.
John, I have had a hard time that I wanted to ask if you could share with me what you shared earlier today about the flexible use of that space, that it's not necessarily 7 suites, but that space is going to be more flexible than that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have all the details on exactly what the design of it is, and Mark is out here as well, with Allport. I don't know that we have a final design, but, you know, my understanding is those are supposed to be flexible and be what we need them to be for the type of event. Mark, do you have any more details as to what the vision is for those, if they're built for those additional floors? Yeah, if you don't mind, we're streaming this and we got folks listening online.
Like if there could possibly be a restaurant on one of those floors?
There's not currently a restaurant contemplated, but it's not impossible that there could be someday. The very first floor, field level, is the visiting team clubhouse. That's what's required to meet the Major League Baseball facility standards. So on top of that, and that's what's required, right? So at the end of the day, the city has an obligation to do the clubhouse and to do the parking, and that's estimated to be $12.5 million. So I think what we're contemplating here is, do we spend $12.5 million to get nothing out of it, or do we spend a little bit more? So above the clubhouse on the first floor is planned to be approximately 5,000 square foot conditioned open space similar to the existing club. So that's flex space that can be used for any purpose, any event. Baseball observation during baseball games, wedding, sitting events, city events, anything you want to do with it. On top of that is the 7 suites that's been talked about. And then the floor above that is an open air rooftop deck that again is total flex space to be used for any purpose.
Mara, does that help?
Yes, I guess one more question I have is, we already have kind of that open flex space before. Is there a possibility that a restaurant could go in there for additional, food and lodging taxes, certainly food and sales tax?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mark answered that earlier. As a possibility that could happen in the future. It's not the baseline design, but
Correct. It's not currently contemplated. I mean, Tom Madison's full of other bars and restaurants. the idea of doing perhaps Sunday brunch or something like that. I mean, we haven't gotten to the full programming level of the space, but it's certainly a possibility. If the demand was there, we would do it. I mean, we're motivated under this structure to maximize the utility of the stadium in any way we can. So if it made sense for us to try to operate a restaurant out of it, perhaps we would try that.
Mark, while you're here, so you're saying that right now you're not planning on doing a restaurant, but you also said that you could use the space for a wedding or something, so like a catered event.
Sure.
Could possibly happen there.
Okay, happening currently, yeah.
Right. Or you could have a small company meeting or training session or something and rent the space for that type of event, correct?
For sure. So you think of the use of the current facility and basically multiply it by 2 almost, right? So it would bring about the possibility of larger convention space with, breakout sessions in the suites. Now you have 2 larger group spaces. There's endless possibilities. I mean, it could be used for literally anything legal.
Thank you for
I thought that was given.
The other thing is not, and going back to Karen's point, which is a good point as far as additional revenues, what isn't in this spreadsheet is any additional revenues that would be generated for sales tax, liquor tax, and additional hotel nights that would occur because we have more space and more people coming. We didn't even put that in here. Right now, the estimate was, I want to say, right at $300,000 to $350,000 on the low end that would be added to those numbers that you're talking about. So we do get more revenue because they generate more things that are occurring at that venue.
And what you're speaking to clarify, I think is outside the stadium, right? So events we're having at the ballpark create additional economic benefit.
You have more people coming there, you're selling more liquor, more, a lot more, anything sales that you charge sales tax for, so you generate more, and then you are correct. So when it comes to lodging, there would be additional rooms, whether it's inside town Madison or outside town Madison for people. On a football game, there's that many more people coming to spend the night, so.
Okay, but let's just clarify that for just a moment. Even if you're adding more people and you're generating more sales tax, doesn't that offset the $1 million payment? Because currently that's what you're doing, is you're crediting the sales tax to make the $1 million payment?
Yes.
So you're not really, what his point is that the real argument is that you're generating more outside of the venue, because in the venue, it's not gonna net us any more money. Okay.
The economic benefit
Yes,
outside.
but outside's the argument, not inside. It's not gonna help you in terms of making that payment.
Would the simplified spreadsheet help you guys?
We had it, and we,
Okay.
I got it, yeah.
I'll second that.
I have one question.
Sure.
For the facility that is at the big clubhouse on top, how often is that rented out? Is it just always blitzed, is it always ready and open, or is it not?
So the existing group space, that's a ticketed space, so it's used all the time for every baseball game.
Well, that means any other events, because when we were first told about it, we were gonna have all of these nice events over there, but they really are still going over to the Jackson Center. Because the space isn't quite as large as we thought and stuff. So I'm just wondering how many beautification board, we used to have breakfast there, but even that was, we did breakfast because it was the cheapest food value. I mean, there's, just being honest, it's kind of high to have things over there, so we had to do breakfast instead of a lunch or dinner. So I'm asking, how is that used? Is that used so much that overflow with the suites would really bring in attraction?
Certainly this time of year, right? So it is used a fair amount. I can't give you a specific number today. I can get you that number for any given year you'd like to have it. During the month of December, you would be double booked for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe even Sunday. Christmas parties. The idea of doing other events. So for baseball games, we would envision that being booked most nights. And then a number of other events that would be held at the ballpark. So that's the benefit of the additional space.
I was just asking.
And so then on top of that, the suites that are currently there, they're full all year round. Right, so all year round, all baseball season, I should say. Right, so the idea of meeting the demand for additional group space is important. It's appropriate to help paying $1.5 million, all in $1.5 million. The first year, we're gonna pay $2 million.
See, I saw that, but that didn't show up anywhere in this paperwork. I saw that in the paper.
I didn't click through those other sections.
And so these are like, well, I think the top of them we started is 1.5. So yeah, I saw that, like, I don't even know where that came from. Here it is. I don't know, who generated it.
Can I give you a simple, is that appropriate? Can I give her?
Absolutely.
Just so that you said.
It's the one that you sent out today.
Yeah, that's what I
Send
said.
all that out today.
I can give her the same sheet.
I think it's important that you understand that we're actually spending.
I can only go by these numbers and that is in the outline because
That's
I have no connection to anything else.
So that's what we're proposing on first year entity. And that compares to the $1.5 million today. Take that home and digest it.
How does that number write that?
Hey, Ted,
This is right here.
Existing bond, this new bond, this new bond. That should tie to the numbers you have on your sheet.
Hey, Teddy, can you say that again, but say it just a little bit louder? I can barely hear
And
you.
lodging tax.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand this. Basically, I'm in it, some of your questions, I believe.
These are this side.
Hey, hold on just a second.
Over here.
Hold on.
That's where that's where we go on this side. If he does it, and Mike's talking about it, that's what it is. He's responsible for these numbers. Right now, they're already going to the bond. But if he doesn't make these numbers, these fall to him. This goes to this side. That's what he's responsible for. Sales and liquor goes right here. Well, I know what I'm saying, but that's where that falls to this. His 1.5 includes this, it's not saying.
Correct.
That's where that 2 million goes.
So
That's okay. Now we have the whole, sorry, I wrote it down because I was very interested in how you arrived at even after that.
Hey, Teddy, I'll get to you in a second.
Only the information that they need.
I think you can give them to everybody, I mean, I think everybody's had these, I should have read them out, but it's the same.
It was how you arrived at that particular.
Go to the text, the email that I sent you. And if you go down to the very bottom where it talks about the total amount that would be needed, and then you credit the sales and liquor tax, which is what Greg just showed you. So it starts at 2 million, and it goes, you credit basically the $500,000 that's generating, and it could be more or less. So that comes to us, and then that leaves the delta of the 1.5 that he's talking about, which is again, 500,000 more than they're paying right now.
If I can, let me just try and I know Teddy's got a question as well, or a statement. I mean, we would try, for me, to simplify this. What's our mortgage payment right now? Maybe 3.1? Yeah. All right. So, it's 3.1.
If you use that sheet right there, too.
That's it, right there. There's existing there, 3 million.
So it's 3.1, we're proposing to add to that mortgage payment, we're gonna refinance our house and add on another bedroom to the tune of $1.5 million. And our mortgage is now gonna go from 3.1 to 4.7. We're gonna pay for that portion of it out of lodging tax, which is different than how we're paying for it now. That, I believe that's a correct statement. I'm looking, somebody,
No.
voice out that number.
That lodging tax number is with the current agreement or the new agreement, it's the same number.
Right, but lodging tax is a piece of it in the current agreement, whereas in this new agreement, it is the whole of the agreement, or the whole of how we would pay for it, right? I mean, there's other elements that go to pay the mortgage right now. There's half.
Basically, that's our responsibility, is that everything else falls for it.
Yeah.
Everything, this is us, and that's where we have no risk. Everything else, whether it's sales tax, he's gotta drop that, he's gotta do all that. That's where that 2 million comes in. It's more than, it's only, that's where all of it falls, that's where the backstop falls.
So we start off, our mortgage goes from, 3.1, 4.7, 2.7 of that, year one, we take out of revenue that's generated. All core covers the delta at 2 million to make that bond payment, which is $600,000 more than what they're required to do now, which I think the backstop now is 1.4.
No, $1 million is all they're required to do. But they're generating 1.5, and part of the 1.5 comes from sales tax and liquor tax. So both sheets show you the same thing in a different way. But they are paying, as Mark said, an extra. They're backstopping anything over what we have in place.
I guess the bottom line is, my thing is, okay, so this house, we don't need this whole extra, it's the house. We're really good where our house is. I don't see what it is.
Do you agree that we need the visitors clubhouse to meet compliance with Major League Baseball?
Yes, we do.
So we do need $7 million for that, and then we need the parking lot that's required with what they currently have in their agreement, which is another $5.5 million. So the requirement is $12.5 million.
Truthfully, we're gonna do not have anything that
Eddie and I can't hear anything. Are y'all talking? Is this something?
Yeah, we're talking. Mayor was kind of sitting back.
Well, your microphone is off to the side too.
Other than that, we're good. So, okay, so I think we got it. We're starting. Thank you.
Was I clear on the numbers of these?
Sure, sure.
We're all in today, we're paying $1.5 million, including sales tax. And what we're proposing is we're gonna pay over $2 million. So we're, correct. Okay.
Yeah, Teddy, what was your question? Or comment?
I can't really hear you guys right now. I'm good.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say it's a coincidence, I can barely hear you too, so. Okay, Mara, can you hear us better?
No, sir. It sounds like y'all are wrestling in there, like crunching up a whole bunch of paper. We can't hear anybody talking. It just sounds like a bunch of paper moving around or something.
What if we turned off all the microphones that aren't being used at the moment? Would that be helpful?
I'm not an AV guy, so I have no idea. But bottom line, what I see is, we got a current mortgage, we have a requirement to dig a hole and fill it with something that Major League Ball has said we have to have, that generates zero revenue. Now, I say that, it allows us to continue to be compliant and for Major League Baseball, who owns minor league baseball, to stay happy with the current setup. What the ramifications are if they become unhappy,
We've all agreed, that this has to be paid for,
Okay.
okay? But you've got the 4 there, you've got the 6, 7 there, okay? That's a whole lot less than 30 million.
agreed.
Okay, so why are we going into 30 million debt when we only have 4 million here, and
Agreed.
7 million there?
Agreed. Whole lot less. I think, at least where I'm seeing it, it looks like the additional square footage helps pay for the hole that we're digging and filling in. Looks like it helps offset that and helps reduce our risk from the standpoint of ball core backing until our revenues catch up, such that the delta between revenues generated and the $1 million in their new agreement pays the bond payment. And until that happens, they're paying north of $1 million. So if it doesn't happen, let's see, if it doesn't happen by 2039, and it happens in 2049, then they're paying still north of $1 million. And if it happens sooner than that, then they get to $1 million sooner. And we're still having more revenue to pay a total of 4.7.
I guess I really believe in the city of Madison bringing in good revenue, that we don't have to put $30 million on debt in order to pay for the services that our citizens require.
Right?
I'm gonna disagree. I mean, we studied these numbers, we talked to Russ Rice, and this is all he does. He recommends it. Our finance chair, he has recommended it. He studied the numbers more than any of us. Mary Beth's out here. She's on board with it. So I just can't. I mean, I don't want to spend $12.5 million and have nothing when you can have a partner that's going to backstop it.
You've got a major league athlete. You pay that money, you have a major league athlete. That's, wasn't anything that anybody could stop from happening. I understand that. But that's what you've got now. I don't see the need to then, triple it.
If they don't make any money.
I think that the hotels make money.
I've got a couple of questions, and I don't know if these are more Megan questions or, but I'm looking at the documents that she's presented to us for the first reading. So we're talking about going into debt $21.5 million for this facility with these documents. We're noticing a $30 million debt. Can you explain to me why it's $30 million?
So the estimated number that we have in the overall piece is 22.5. What we are giving ourselves buffer for is that's an estimated number based on what Gerald had gone out. We had one at 20 and one at 30. We took 22.5, which we feel like is the right number. There's several addendums on there that we say, look, we can't do balconies everywhere. So the 22.5 is the number that we feel like it is, but we want to have ourselves, if we're going to notice this to the public, we're giving ourselves a ceiling that allows us to utilize that in case that it comes in at 23.4 or 25. And we would, Mark's agreement is in the license agreement that he would backstop that number, but we're giving ourselves flexibility instead of just putting 22.5, and if it comes in at 23.5, then we don't have the right notice. Megan, is that the right way to say that?
Yes, that's the right way to say that. An important milestone in the project is our constitutional notice requirement to publish a notice in the newspaper that states the general terms of the deal. And so we have to do that at least 7 days before you all take a vote on it. And so giving us that additional headroom just preserves the city's ability to come back and make adjustments later if needed based on higher costs, because we've already noticed at a maximum cost.
Okay, is there a point that the estimated costs come in after you bid it out and then we're not going to have it? Or is there a limit to how high it can go before you backstop it? Are you willing? Yeah.
I haven't run those numbers, but I haven't seen a number yet this year.
Okay. All right, and then this is for Teddy and Laura who are listening in. He said he has not seen any number that scares him yet on the backstop. Okay. All right. So we were planning on having the work session tonight to talk about the agreement, and that remedy provision is a key component of being able to solidify the backstop that we've been discussing. At what point do we see this language? When do we get this agreement before us? Do you not feel that that's necessary before we try to notice this bond?
Megan?
Oh, absolutely. Right before this meeting, I received an updated version of the agreement back from Walcorp. And when it comes to our offer on the updated remedies language to give us more remedies including suits for damages and specific performance instead of just kicking ball court out in the event of non-performance. They've accepted that language, and they put a caveat in there that if they were to lose their license due to action of Major League Baseball, they would pay up to what they owe up to the time that they lost their license. So, but as Ball Course Council has explained to me, if they lose their license, they then lose their ability to pay, and so they requested that limitation in the agreement, but they have accepted the major changes that we put forth. And so I will circulate the updated license agreement to you all as soon as possible.
Okay, so instead of having the exclusive remedy being terminating the agreement, they are allowing us to seek specific performance and damages?
That's correct.
Is there any security posted for this? Is there any guarantee?
No, I do not have a provision in the agreement about that, but I can investigate it.
Okay, and so we're gonna go Monday night, we're gonna vote to do this, and when are we gonna see the agreement?
If everyone is in agreement on the numbers set up and we can weave that into the agreement within the next couple of days, we can send the agreement to you all for review by the end of the week and publish it in the public agenda packet. And the current schedule that we're working on is that we would send our notice to the newspaper that I referenced earlier on Friday, and it would be published next Wednesday. On Monday, we would present this to you all for a first reading. Because it's the lease of property, it requires an ordinance. So we would bring it for a first reading on Monday, and then on Wednesday, our notice would hit the newspaper. And then we would be positioned to ask you all for a vote on December 9th. And that would provide the public an opportunity to review and provide public comment at that time.
Okay, on the estimated approval schedule that we were given, between November 25th and November 27th, it says, City Council vote to authorize putting ERP package out to bid. So there is a vote that is happening on Monday, correct?
Yeah, that is, and Gerald, you correct me if I'm wrong, that is in the consent agenda. It's supposed to be in there, it's in the tentative agenda that we reviewed Tuesday. And that is for excavation and demolition that has to occur regardless. That is being separated out, and it's an early release package that allows them to go ahead and start that and get that bid. Just so we can get those numbers back and then later vote to actually execute that contract.
Okay, got it, thanks.
Did I say that right? I got ERP right.
And Meg, I know we got several people out. I know Connie's out first meeting, Katie's out second meeting. Is there any way we could meet before the night? Would the council be, that'd be a John call, but if that's something we can meet, have a special call meeting before the night to look at this before everybody's out of meetings and this leads over into January?
Yes, the mayor and I were actually talking about that before the meeting started. As long as we give a 7-day notice in the newspaper, you could meet and take the vote after that time. So, we noticed that there is a council work session scheduled for December the 4th. That would be exactly 7 days after the newspaper notice hits. So I think it would be possible to notice a special called meeting and then take public comment on the agreement at that meeting and position you all to vote if you're ready to make your decision.
Renee, you said, is the second, Renee had said earlier, maybe the second one voted for you?
Second works for me.
Legally, can we be on the second or not?
No, we can't, because we have to have the notice run a full 7 days, and the fastest that we can get the notice published in the Madison Record will be next Wednesday.
Is the 4th going to replace the 9th? Are we not meeting on the 9th?
I think it would just be a special call meeting on the 4th. Have a meeting on the 9th for anyone who is still here, yes.
Yeah, essentially, we make that work session a special call meeting, and for lack of a better term, probably table maybe the agenda for the work session. I think that was to discuss the comprehensive plan that's supposed to be coming in.
Is this the one that community center?
Well, yes, I need to talk with you guys, because talking with Chris, we're not set up at the community center to be able to do this kind of thing, have the right AV registration. Yeah, we probably will end up being here.
Okay, could we push it to start at 6 on the,
On the fourth.
instead of 5:30?
I mean, I don't have an issue with that. I mean, it works for me. And I see everybody looking at the phone, so. Good, all right. Can we adjourn or make that note as a tentative until we figure out here whether we're good to go? And honestly, this depends on Monday. As of right now. Right now, on the tentative agenda that we discussed on Tuesday, Megan, you had 3 items. I had them up on my phone earlier, but they were all first readings. That dealt, I think 2 out of the 3 dealt with this. I can't know the third one.
Yes, that's correct. We did have 3 items pertaining to this project on the agenda, and the first you covered already, and that's the authorization to bid the early release package, and that is slated for the consent agenda. The second item is an ordinance to amend the city's lodging tax proceeds ordinance, and the reason that we're proposing an amendment is that the current lodging tax ordinance still dedicates certain funds to the Margaritaville project, which did not proceed. So we need to take that language out, and then that will free up the funds that are referenced in the mayor's spreadsheet for lodging taxes. And that's a housekeeping item we should probably take care of anyways, but that is scheduled for our first reading, and Roger has reviewed and is satisfied with that language. The second ordinance is the ordinance that actually approves the amended and restated license agreement. So if we come to terms over the next couple of days, and I can have an extension to Friday to complete council documents, then we can proceed. If the major terms are there and we're ready to proceed with submitting the notice, then those are the 3 items that would pertain to this, and that would position you all to head into a vote on December 4th if that's your choice.
Make sure I understand and clarify too, when you say we won't vote on it Monday night, it will be a first reading.
Correct.
Publicized on Wednesday, vote potentially before.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Does that make sense? Okay. So, can we, Renee, did you have any other questions on the agreement or anything, or anybody else?
I have one question on this lodging tax thing. Are we planning on changing
I was
those?
talking to your microphone, I'm sitting on the microphone, and I can't hear what you said.
Sorry about that. Okay, it talks about the 3 hotels at the 9%, new hotels, Marriott, Tom Place, they're gonna be at the 2% portion and whatnot, which is significantly lower. But then it has the hotels outside of Tom Madison District and within general city limits. So is this gonna expand to all hotels in the city of Madison, or are we still just maintaining those ones right by the stadium?
The way it would currently be in position is anything outside of town Madison that's new wouldn't be going into this. So you still have the ability to pay for that now. You can change that if you decide change the ordinance that you want to change. We could change that where not all of them went in there, but right now that is outside.
Okay, so any new hotel that comes in anywhere in Madison City is not going to be paying this tax towards the stadium.
Correct.
I believe, ask us, because I believe that was part of the original agreement anyways, right?
Well, the original agreement had, you go back to the first 2 hotels, one of which was Margaritaville, which was basically 2 hotels in one, so it was the first 3 hotels. When we worked to, for the Town Madison flyovers and basically the bonds to take over Town Madison, we amended that so that the first 3 hotels that were already in place on the west side were included into the revenue for the venue. And then any new hotels in town Madison would go towards, the main hotel tax would go towards the town Madison bonds, and then 2% plus $1 would go towards our stuff, the venue, and then anything outside would go towards the venue. And we hadn't been asked at that point to do anything, Major League Baseball, that changed how things were going.
So just by adding that tax, that would give me more revenue to pay for these, the 7 million and 4 million.
Yes.
So, just saying, I don't know, it seems like we're putting a lot of our money into the stadium at this point, and there's a lot of needs throughout the city.
Well, the one thing, again, that does help us do is make sure when it comes to the maintenance of that facility, that we also have the revenue to maintain our facility to keep it up for all 25 years. So that also is something that we use for that.
Right, yeah. Okay, just double checking on that.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So, just for clarification, to make sure I understand this. On these spreadsheets that we have though, there are only a total of 3 hotels listed.
Yeah. So the 3 hotels that are listed are the ones that are in construction right now. The 2 new ones that you see inside of town Madison are basically the green or whatever that color is, light pink. The 3rd hotel is the one that's being built on Madison Boulevard that you've seen that is in construction right now. So those are the 3 new hotels. There's no other hotels that are new in this spreadsheet.
So it is possible that these numbers would then change as if a 4th hotel came into the city.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the ones that we already know exist.
Correct.
So we're not banking on a possible future hotel.
That is correct.
Megan, can you, so you sent, I don't know what day it was, Monday or Tuesday, you sent the latest red line version of the agreement you had. I think as of last Thursday or Friday, there were 6 at least outstanding, hey, we don't agree on these 6 things or whatever, or 6 things that we just gotta iron out. Can you just give us a high level? Sounds like you got things back, and maybe you did that already, I don't want to listen, but like, where are we at? And not only where are we at, what's remaining, and what's that path to closure?
All right, sure thing. So to briefly summarize, the main thing is making sure that there is an agreement on the spreadsheet and the rent that Walcor will be paying and how that's calculated. So once you all come to terms on that, then I can work with Walcor's council and confirm with our bond council that that works. Walcor had a question about how the lodging tax proceeds would be allocated, and I believe you've been in discussions about that, and that matter is being clarified. Walcor also had a question about some venue signage requirements. We had proposed some language based on a recent zoning ordinance amendment based on visibility of signage from outside the ballpark, and they'd like to continue to discuss that. And that's something I'll need Mary Beth's feedback to close out. And you'll forgive me, I'm continuing to thumb through the agreement, the new one that I just got, to share with you what the other changes are. Mayo, is there anything else that you would highlight at the moment? Of course, remedies, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, that was the main one that I had,
Yes.
the communities to make sure that they brought up a great point in, I think.
Yes, and on a remedies note, I want to add that there is language in this agreement that references the new Major League Baseball facility standards, which were essentially signed up for in having a minor league ballpark. And there are 2 footnotes, I will say, on the remedies provisions. First of all, and these are Major League Baseball standards that I don't believe are actually negotiable, but I'll continue to talk with Walport about that. First of all, they provide that there can be no termination during baseball season. So if there was to be an event where the city was ready to kick Walport out, it couldn't happen during the regular season or the postseason. And working to make that mutual. So if Walport got fed up with the city, we would ask them to stay and complete their obligations for that year. Then there's a provision called about replacement clubs, and it says that if at any time prior to the expiration of the term of the agreement, the city terminates the lease with Walport, then the city would need to accept a replacement club identified by Major League Baseball to the extent that it's reasonably acceptable to the city. So I want to flag those issues because the incorporation of the new terms from Major League Baseball is something that we're still working through, and I'd like to help you all with any questions that you have on that. And that's all that I have at the moment.
Would we be able to, with the red lines that came back, get that to council tonight to be able to see
Yes,
that?
I can, yes.
To see what it is right now, and then you can work on the remainder of it to get it finalized. Sure, we'll get that to you guys.
Yes, and we've got to continue to finalize our exhibits too, to make sure that all the areas are included that should be. So yes, that is a basic rundown. And then attached to the license agreement is a venue improvement agreement that sets the scope for this 4-story project. And so that's something that we're continuing to work on too, to get those details right, to make sure that we incorporate the proper equipment that the city will be responsible for, and just other language geared toward the general scope and the construction schedule.
Okay. Of the items you mentioned the third one and talked about the signage requirements that you need Mary Beth's input. As far as I understand, she's out of the country and probably somewhat unreachable. If this is coming,
She's back Friday.
is she back?
She's back late Friday, so we could get, could send out as is, and if we have to amend it based on, it's kind of what we're requiring to do based on an ordinance, but we have the ability to be flexible. It is our venue.
I got you. Okay.
We want to talk to her because she's back late Friday, and we could be talking to her by Saturday.
Yes, if that particular term was not finalized by the time we're ready to publish on Friday, as long as it's finalized before the vote, I think that it would be fine to proceed.
Of all of these, do you see any risk? And I mean, we have, Mark, I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but we got Mark here, we could talk to Huntsville Airport and, not let him leave if we need to. But, I mean, do you have what you need or what you feel like you need in order to get this done by the end of the week? And by the way, you have full runway to use the end of the week.
Okay, thank you for that. I think we're getting closer and closer, and I feel we're in a much better position today than we were yesterday. And I will work through these edits as expeditiously as I possibly can to get it as buttoned up as possible by the time it's time to publish the agenda on Friday. And with the critical terms being the financial terms that I know you all are working out. So if you all come to an agreement on that, then I would feel confident in proceeding.
So I'm just gonna ask, because I don't know the right question or right answer. What do you need from us to do? It sounds like the first one is agreement on rent.
Yes.
Do you need a north-south head bond from us, or do you need a?
Yes.
Okay.
So north-south, keep going, keep finishing, let's get it to a first reading, is what we're looking to do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, online and in here, are there other questions that you have to be comfortable with moving forward, at least to get this to a first reading by Monday, specifically to the agreement on the rent and how that would be worked?
I have one question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, when we met 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we had two sets of figures, kind of a low figure and a high figure. And it was discussed that when we came closer to voting, we would have a more accurate figure for how much would the one-story be and how much would the four-story be. Will we have that information on Monday at the first reading so that we can say, the vote is to go for the four-story, not to exceed $22,500,000, just throwing out that figure.
Well, I think your two numbers are 7 million and 22.5 right now, and that's your two figures, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not to say, I won't say not to exceed, but that's right now what the expectations are based on numbers that we have received, that Gerald has gone and found, and then also looking at the addendums that were in there on what we might be able to add if versus what we don't think that we have to have. And so those are two numbers that we feel comfortable with based on what we've had.
Very good. And when we go to sign this agreement, can we put in there the terminology of 22.5 not to exceed that amount, or how we normally do? I think we do like a 10% construction over cost.
So part of what we'll have there, Mara, is part of what Ball Corp is talking about is whatever it is, 22.5 or 24.5, it's their responsibility to take care of that. These numbers that you see right now, where they would be paying an extra $500,000 the first couple of years, are based on that figure coming in and us awarding a bid of somewhere in the 22.5 range. If that changes, they would be responsible for the overage. Based on the license agreement that Megan's working on right now.
Very good. That's my only question. Thank you.
Can I just ask Megan to send us the original ordinance in 2017 that was passed, so we can see how this compares to what the language was before? When the lodging taxes were first put on, the original that were apparently going to have first reading.
Yes.
Any other? Connie, you good? Karen? Greg? All right.
So you're
Got
ready
mine
for a first reading on Monday, and you'd like us to notice a special called meeting for Wednesday, December 4th, and we will submit the notice to the newspaper on Friday with a date of December 4th. Okay.
And I would say at this point, I would keep whatever we got on the work session.
And the comprehensive overview plan, study, whatever. Keep that on there. Just add it as a second one, and we'll make sure that we got not put that out one night.
Here.
Yes. Yeah. We'll go ahead and do that.
The good news is the other thing that we have on the agenda Monday night that is also Megan's doing right now is in the plan that we did for our employees, we have one department, fire, where we're working on two addendums that we would bring to the HR committee Monday, and then hopefully get a vote on Monday night to take care of what we need to for fire to get them where they need to be in compensation for the 5 different things that they have. So we'll be bringing that to you guys also. And she's working on that right now.
I just wanted to say thank you all for accommodating me, and thank you, Chris.
Thanks everybody for putting this together. Are there any other questions or comments?
I'd like to thank Roger for all the time he's put in it. Rush, I know he's not here, but Rush has helped, and then obviously Ball Corp all the time that they've invested talking with Paul and Roger and everybody else on council.
Yeah, likewise. Thank Mark specifically for flying in. I know spending a lot of time on the phone and helping understand things. Paul, Megan, I know you're turning the midnight oil I really appreciate what you're doing and how you're doing it. So, thank you. And Roger, I mean, like a master with Excel, man. All right, with that, unless there's any other topics, we'll adjourn. And everybody Monday night. Thanks.
Thank y'all.
I appreciate it. Mara, Teddy, thanks for dialing in.
Yes, sir. See you Monday. Bye-bye.